of the ocean breeze. Island youth, them rising with the key. Roots and horizons calling we. Education set the people free. Rise our youth, come and learn in our delight. Open up your mind, let your future shine bright. Rise our boats, from the sea to the sun. Roots and horizons, every daughter, every son. We want the people come reason with we, reason with we, reason with we. Lift up this knowledge as you reason with we in a this irie. Classroom under palm tree, but the lesson so strong. History of the islands, how we fight and stay long. Rise and stories, rise and tongue, rise and song. Teach the children how them spirits stay strong. Whoa, lady oh, lady oh, lady oh. Rise and youth, come and grow, stand tall. Voice of the nation, echo through the hall. Rise and boats, every mind get a shine. Roots and horizons, education design. We want the people come study with we, study with we, study with we. Lift up this knowledge as you come test we in a this irie.
Good evening, everyone. Once more to Roots and Horizons, Raizales Education. Welcome, everyone. Welcome those listening to us in our archipelago, and welcome as well to those abroad, and everyone listening as well on our radio station. So it's very nice to say that we are as well live on Facebook, YouTube, and as well on our radio station. Thanks everyone for watching us and listening to us. And we want to invite you from now to join us and engage with us on our Facebook and our YouTube channel. You can go there and give like, and as well you can comment and you can ask questions about this very important topic. So we have done so far 4 chapters of Ethno-Education. This is our 5th chapter. And tonight marks, well, this special series that we have been talking about. And we are very grateful, as I said, for you to be joining us tonight. Ethno-education is more than just a model of teaching. When we speak about ethno-education, it is a way of preserving the memory, tradition, values, spirituality, and ancestral knowledge of a community or a people. So when we're talking about ethno-education, it's something very important for any community or any people. If you are from Africa, any country in Africa, for example, I know we have some African teachers listening to us. Thank you for listening to us, or different teachers from different regions in Africa. We have some from Zimbabwe, from Kenya, from Ghana. And we have a Jamaican teacher as well listening to us. And sometime we'd like to invite you all to join us and tell us about this culture, this rich culture of yours, and how it can enrich as well the Raizales people. So education, as I was saying, is more than just a model of teaching. It's a way of preserving the memory of a community, of a people, right? And tonight our conversation will go around this topic again. It's a very important topic because we want to continue exploring how this topic of ethno-education can influence our Raizales education. We will watch a video and we will discuss about this video about ethno-education. It will be in Spanish, and then we will stop in the video and translate in some parts. And we will discuss the importance of ethno-education. We have Mr. Jairo Rodriguez with us as well. Welcome, Mr. Jairo Rodriguez.
Hello, Dr. Siegfried, and our listeners tonight. To be here again, and let's start this topic of ethno-education. Thank you.
I am hearing you a bit far, Hiram.
Okay.
Yes, I can hear you better there now. Yes, so I don't know if you want us to jump right away in the topic and show the video. We have a nice video that we want to watch, and then we can discuss about the video. What you think?
Yes. Go.
The sound.
Is it sounding?
No, the sound. The sound is off.
Yeah. Let's try it again.
Hiji lakini kwa tabehi gwati kama ha fino fatu te ha tiati kone ati be gwati kama ha to pe ati be peto fe nakene fu ramune kan ibe tambar me keno na dia fe hedi betati atana ne mana bha goli he o he beta uno beta ka fini fe tine gole kano kon be ati kone be ma kiti be di kamati pa gole.
Marcelo es un indígena colombiano que pertenece al pueblo Tatuyo. Y como esta etnia, hay más de 80 en nuestro país, entre pueblos indígenas, comunidades afrocolombianas, Palenque, Raizales, comunidad Rom, quienes hablan 60 idiomas diferentes. Los tatuyos viven al suroriente de Colombia, en el selvático departamento del Bautés, y con ellos se desarrolla uno de los 44 proyectos etnoeducativos del país y se proyecta apoyar 16 más. Estos proyectos surgieron como respuesta a la necesidad de una educación diferenciada que respete y desarrolle la cultura propia de las comunidades y su relación con el mundo.
El nombre del proyecto educativo se llama Majirique. Eso está escrito en lengua tatuyo. Quiere decir conocimiento integral. O sea, es el globo de la sabiduría. Saber de lo occidental y saber de lo tradicional. En nuestro territorio hay un grupo de sabedores, que son historiadores, que son rezadores, tocadores de instrumentos sagrados, gentes que saben de ley de origen, hay bayás. Entonces, ese grupo de sabedores son los que dijeron, bueno, vamos a buscar contenidos para enseñar a nuestros niños.
Let's stop there.
Entonces, ahí es donde se busca ya los contenidos.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can see that this video is telling us. This video is telling us about some indigenous ethnic communities that we have in Colombia, right? It is telling us about different, and he was talking different languages or dialects or languages from their different indigenous tribe. And he mentioned the Raizales as well, because I'm giving the context because we might have someone that speak Spanish and translating for them. So what can you mention about this part of the video, Jairo?
Well, is hearing that it's an inclusive, education. Here we recognize their values as people without, so many my thinking, without putting down the education, the knowledge of other culture like the West civilization, Western civilization. Those that they consider more modern in technology and whatever in competitive work. It's not putting down that one, but it's additionally valuing their own things, their history, their territory, the necessity to learn to deal with their environment, the lifestyle that they come up into, and might be stuff put down, and underestimate that people want things That's usually the tendency in the world, that one civilization or one group of people usually just try to place themselves as a supremacy and think that everyone else has to follow as them. That we are not degrading no other culture, but value all of them. You know, in other, we also taking the school like a place where we build human beings, people with self-esteem of themselves, not simple a place where you produce actors to go there and be useful in the liberal market. People that live joyfully and happily themselves with strong cultural identity. That's more or less my perception.
Yeah, notice that he mentioned the combination. I have a feedback. Ryan, I'm having a feedback. Notice that he mentioned the combination. No, I'm still having the feedback. We're having some connection issues. And my voice is repeating, I'm having a feedback. Notice that he mentioned the combination between Western knowledge and traditional knowledge. Yeah? So he says the importance of having Western knowledge and traditional knowledge. And that is what is ethno-education about. Because when you're talking about Western knowledge, you can't avoid teaching from the curriculum, the core subjects like math and science and social studies and so on. Yeah, those are the Western knowledge that he's talking about. And he'll explain that now in the video. And then he says, but as well, the ancestral or the traditional knowledge. And then he mentioned the famous sabedores or the knowledge keepers. So let's continue there in that part.
All right.
No sound. No sound.
Educadores. Entonces todos aprobaron que sí.
El proyecto etnoeducativo es la carta de navegación donde se plasma el pensamiento y las orientaciones que guían los procesos educativos de los grupos étnicos. Esta guía es construida por la comunidad misma. Todos tienen algo que aportar a lo que se les va a enseñar a las próximas generaciones. Se trata de la reunión de todos, de la participación de todos, de un pueblo que se reúne para pensar en lo que debe ser enseñado. Este proceso es apoyado y acompañado por el Ministerio de Educación Nacional, consciente de la importancia de la educación propia e intercultural de las etnias en Colombia.
Los proyectos educativos, eso para nosotros ha sido el punto clave. Nos ha tocado el corazón porque con esos proyectos educativos hemos recuperado la tradición. Entonces los niños no tienen un aula específico, no. Tienen varias aulas. Los ríos, las chagras, la naturaleza. Estas son las aulas del niño. Cuando se implementa este proyecto educativo, se ha visto un avance muy importante en los estudiantes. Primero, muchos niños ya saben danzar. Muchos niños ya saben tocar el carrizo. Muchos niños ya identifican clases de plantas. Muchos niños ya conocen clases de ríos. Eso es el avance que hemos tenido nosotros.
El pensamiento ancestral tiene una gran importancia en la etnoeducación. Su valor es determinado por la misma comunidad y adquiere para todas un nuevo sentido al ser parte del proceso de aprendizaje de los niños, niñas y jóvenes. Las prácticas que hemos visto eran vistas como cosas del pasado. Ahora forman parte de lo que se enseña a los niños. El conocimiento siempre ha estado ahí con la gente que lo siente propio.
Las rutas pedagógicas de este proceso educativo son: los sabedores enseñan toda la parte de la tradición, la parte cultural. Los papás se encargan de enseñarles a ellos a trabajar, a pescar, a cazar, a observar cómo va a ser el trabajo de ellos en la casa, a empezar a tejer los instrumentos de cocina. Los educadores complementan lo occidental como las matemáticas, el pensamiento matemático, y complementan con algunas investigaciones que hacen los sabedores para profundizar el tema. La conservación de la naturaleza se hace a través de calendario ecológico, el calendario tradicional. Entonces, ¿cómo conservan? Rezando, danzando, pronosticando, respetando el calendario tradicional, respetando el invierno, respetando el verano, respetando la época de la tumba de la chagra, respetando la subienda de los peces. Bueno, estas actividades se conserva la naturaleza. La naturaleza en este momento está muy enferma. Si no nos ayudan a conservar la naturaleza, se va a morir la naturaleza y nos va a morir nosotros. Porque la naturaleza es la vida. Estamos muriendo lentamente.
It says something, so many things important, right? It says, for example, that education becomes stronger when it reflects the voice and experiences of the people themselves. And I like the part where he says that nature are the classrooms. So why are we talking about this higher up? Because many people might not be in context. We're talking about the ethno-education, and I want you to tell them a little bit about the decree and the law. Let's repeat that little part, please.
You mean about the decree coming out now by the educators?
Yeah, correct.
We treated in the previous program a bill of law that prepared Congress in Colombia. We are establishing a special statute for the Black communities, Raizales and Palenqueros. That would be in the schools then as these ethnic people. In the case of our territory, the archipelagos and the Samparian, we have a special consideration different than the other department where they consider that for a school. To consider educators, they see that the majority of the students in that school belong to the ethnic people. But due that we are minority numerically, numerical minority in our territory, and we are around 20% of the population. And that criteria have been majority as their Raizales children in the school want to apply here. They are already in the archipelago government. Decided to all the schools because they are in the ethnic Raizal territory. They should be considered ethno schools, which is another. So those have been the two issues that we have been treating: the schools, the educational schools, and the next element, the educators are coming now with the new statute. Together, will become the scenario for a revolutionary movement of the Raizal people are preparing all these decades and years where they condemn and somehow displace or one system of education that we used to use or knowledge keepers. It was displaced by laws in Colombia that exactly they have to have a diploma in a university. Now, this person will reverse it as they come back to recognize the right of the ethnic people to have their own system of education and their own ethnic education.
Correct. And this is not just, I think this is not just for preschool, elementary, and high school in our territory, but it has to do as well with our university, Raizal University. Remember, Ryan, I'm having a feedback when we have the video and then we're talking, we're having a feedback. So okay, great. So then it's important to mention that this link as well with our Raizal education, right? Raizal University, because when we are talking about Raizal education, we want to have this in mind that ethno-education is not just for preschool, elementary, and high school. The why are we watching this video for those that are not in context as well? is because the indigenous communities around Colombia, or the indigenous people around Colombia, have a lot of different tribes and communities. They are far away already established in their own education, right? And for people who are not in context, the archipelago of San Andres, Whole Providence, and Catalina are an indigenous population or indigenous people. Yeah, we're called the Raizales. And there are some islands that were colonized by British and, well, abandoned many years ago and then adopted by Colombia. And these islands they have an indigenous population called the Raizales. That's why we're talking about this topic. For those that are not in context and from different countries listening to us. So we are watching this video about how this indigenous group, they already established their ethno-education and how they do it. They're saying about the nature is their classroom and how the children learn. So when they watch the forests and the rivers and the nature, which is their classroom, we can refer that and have this as a mirror. For example, how our children and our youth, they will use what? The maritorio, the sea, right? The sea is as well one of our classrooms that we must put in our context, in our education. So when we're talking about the sea, because we are surrounded with sea, our land is very small in comparison to the vast sea around us. We have more sea than land. So the sea should be part of our territory and should be included, of course, in our natural science and our social studies when it comes to building our curriculum. So this is a mirror that we are seeing here with this these people, that how they built their own education and how they brought in their sabedores. So in education speaks about the sabedores, or in English, knowledge keepers. Who are the knowledge keepers? We're talking about parents, we're talking about grandparents, we're talking about all the elders, we're talking about spiritual leaders and different people that have the tradition and their roots, right, higher, that can bring in all their knowledge into our education.
Yes, very important. Think on the school behind the four walls, It's a more interesting and attractive moment for the kids to get them to have a live experience with the surroundings, the place where they live, and not to be locked up in a classroom in four walls. Imagine everything that they are saying out there in front of them, and usually imagine other geographical places and elements that are not according to their own daily life. So what that do is prepare somebody to take them out of their own place and prepare them in other things and not to live, interact. If you should ask the question, majority of these generation, of our generation, pass the time in the school, and might be not even one single time they carry them to interact and to, put a gap or a hole of their things, of their territory, of their keys. I believe maybe 98% of who pass through the school don't even know that the key or high key, or not to say the correct key then. So you don't build you're not building a kid or a person, a future professional to extend and fit in the development of their territory. They are just like strangers in their own territory, not having the minimum knowledge of the place, of those under those things, of the marine life that is so rich, and that are under constant studies, to understand it and to make use of it. The blue economy that the world is talking about, and many countries that are coastal countries are immersed into that blue economy as a potential. And we in the school being raised up ignorant, totally ignorant, not even capable of carrying the kids to touch them foot except them carrying them to a picnic. So those things is what are being questioned. That the education should be culturally adequate. the person and the person territory. Take dominion of their things. That's what the fellow said. That's the best school.
Correct. And he gets to the point where he's mentioning that the nature is sick. He says, nature is sick. He says there that part, then after now it comes that part. It says, nature is sick, and we are having this right now. We are seeing that we have global warming around us, right? In Providence the other day, I'm saying the other day, a couple of years back, we had this hurricane that affected the island. We are coming out to the hurricane season again from the 1st of June until the 30th of November. In the whole Caribbean, we have hurricane season. And the hurricane season starts, and are we preparing our children and our youth, for example, for hurricane season? This is something important. He's saying nature is sick. And what are our schools, our teachers doing, for example, to teach our children and our youth to take care of the environment? Some of them can't even swim. You live on an island, and our children and youth, many of them can't swim. So what are you doing, for example, to, in your schools? So there's something to reflect as well. What actions can we as people, and young people take to protect our environment today? So protecting nature also means protecting future generations. And let's continue there in that part where he's mentioning how the nature is sick and why it's important to have ethno-education. It helps our young people to protect the nature.
Entonces queremos que nos ayuden a conservar. Ayúdenos. Porque la naturaleza es la vida. La vida suya, la vida mía, la vida de todos. De los animales, de los peces, de los seres humanos, de las plantas, de todo.
Los proyectos etnoeducativos aseguran un futuro para la cultura de los grupos étnicos de Colombia. Se está preservando un conocimiento, fortaleciendo. Lo que trae como consecuencia es la conservación del territorio en el que viven. Una cosa y otra son inseparables para los indígenas colombianos, quienes desde siempre han tenido una relación activa con la naturaleza. Una relación que no destruye, que parte del conocimiento para asegurar la conservación y la permanencia del mundo y de la vida.
Voy a hablar en 6 idiomas indígenas de las 23. Para darle este mensaje. Ayúdenos a conservar la naturaleza. En Tatuyo, Hanat Tinemoña. Muy Hanaset, todo Hanat Tinemoña. En Bará, Grupo Guaymaján. Hane, Tita Muña, Hane. Tita Muña, tere. En Carapana. Hane Yaya, Hane Cana. A Tita Muña, tere. A Tita Muña, Cato, Maror, Manigana. En Tucano, gente tierra. Betamuña, Sane. Añuse, Miate, Cansanero, Bate. Betamuña, Musa, Betamusa, y a Manu, Añuno, ni la semana. En Yuruti. Y Sane, Tita Muña, a Tierra y Sacacatia, te maquineo, Yati. Macatita Muña, Nuca, Manini Petira, Dia Petia, Sura, como ni Dia Petenia, a Teñuno Manini. En Carapana. Hane, a Tiere, a Tita Muña, Mahane, Jaina. A Tomena, Pum, Hane. A Timahana, Criminal, Pum, Hane. Hane, a Tita Muña, Kaor Manina, Mahane, Jaina.
Okay. So that was the video. Then he ended with some different indigenous languages, and one was missing there, which is Creole and English. Help us to take care of our nature. Help us to take care of our nature, right? So the video says at the end that protecting culture and protecting territory are inseparable. Why do you think, Hira, that land and identity are so connected?
The land is what will allow mold the cultural identity. A human being or a human population are molded by that nature, by the climate. They dress. The dressing is according to the climate. If the place, for example, is cold, years they go building way to protect, from the cold. If it's too hot, the more the culture and the lifestyle in the dressing, same way to wear something fresh or to protect them from the sun. And so generally, that gives us that example with the dressing. But the same way to our your question, the nature mold the type of gastronomy of the people. In your nature, you find the presence of crab, you learn to deal with crab, you learn to eat crab. If you have other animals, you learn to deal with it and consume it also. When maybe some other culture don't do it because they don't have it on their territory. So that same territory mold the dressing, mold the gastronomy, and the lifestyle in general is more than.
Very good. Hara, so I have some questions for you, and then I would like you to answer them. What does education mean specifically for our islands?
Is many things. One, education is a means to emancipation, to superate hundreds of years of mental setting on our mind. So education gets you, if you do it right, and it enables you to know yourself. Knowing yourself is liberating yourself, emancipating yourself from so many things that you can do for hundreds of years, like your low self-esteem, your degradation, and so forth. It teaches you who you really are, make you value yourself. That's by one side. That would build identity. Education should do that, to build identity. Secondly, education empower you to survive and to deal with nature. That's precisely when you ask the question about the territory, the importance of the physical, the element, the geography. Nature should empower you for you, as the Bible says, to be steward over God's creation. So in education, you should get the transmission of so much generation that they master that territory and build and accumulate knowledge it will be transmitted to you. You learn to hold a crab, right? You learn it by someone. If you as a kid never sees your father, your brother, your mother, your father, your uncle, someone holding a crab or pinning a guana or a chili, you won't do it so easily. And that is the accumulation of knowledge. Or the way they fish, they do this different way of fishing to survive, is to provide the elements to live. And so education empower the person to be master over the surrounding, the elements, the blessing that they get from God, wherever place of this earth that we find ourselves in. And education empower us to develop ourselves and have a continual progress, mastering and moving into more and more layers of modernization, when you learn to dominate. You're bringing engineering, you're bringing other things, and you go to an next level. I want to illustrate something here, for example. Let me understand that the place in the world that is master in building these touristical cruise. It's some one of those countries there among the Scandinavian. I don't remember good if it's Norway or the next one there beside. But when you look on their history, they come up in a situation similar like we, the Raizales people. We are children of the sea. No matter that we live in the midst of the ocean, we master, our ancestors master navigation. And we have a bit that we get to conserve. The large majority of those knowledge of our ancestors built over the years to master navigation, to navigate with instrument was as well with the stars.
Correct.
So we're very respectable and have a reputation. So with that background that we have, and we was master of building boats. We build the boats, we master the navigation, we master the economy of the production of fruit. We transport fruit from many, many years, coconut, citrus, pears, and other ones to the north, to the United States, and other places. And on the way back home in the boats, on our boats, we carry back luxury production from the United States. That same background that we have and that we was building and mastering generation by generation while the ancestors are going transmitting, if that trend did continue, believe me, we should be in a similar situation like that country, a Scandinavian country that are building cruise.
Correct.
And that reputation that the most amount of cruise are built by them. We could be in that same situation. Dr. Newell was pushing in his moment as governor of the archipelago for we to have, forget the name of that infrastructure, where boats from any part of the world can just move in there and our people fix it, maintain it and give it a maintenance. Because we had the background. And unfortunately, we underestimated our economy that they impose on us of a destructive type of tourism, massive tourism that all is doing is killing our culture, killing our nature, bringing garbage and extracting the resources.
And not just that, but if we would have continued in that route, we would be independent by today.
Yep.
Because our economy was strong, not just citrus, but also I remember we had coconut oil as well. Coconut oil, cotton. We had cotton, we had coconut oil, we have fruits, right? Fish and products from the sea. We had a lot of things, and the island was sustaining itself. We didn't really need other places like Colombia to overpopulate it and things. Anyways, so coming back to the topic of ethno-education, Jairo, when we mentioned that we in numbers the Raizal children and youth are minority in the schools, and that we have in the last session we were talking about with Dr. Farides that we had the pilot school in Providence, right, of ethno-education. Then how do you think, well, we have to ask this to the Secretary of Education, I guess, but how do you think we could do, like, for example, that for all the schools in San Andres become ethno-education if the children and teenagers are not Raizals?
Next week, Wednesday, I was up by the government offices looking to get information on someone, Last week, we invited the Secretary of Education and we finally did Palenqueros and apparently to technical people. And we are insisting to have someone there from the office. We know that they're there in the process. They're going towards that Ethno-Education School over the island. And they are building right now with the schools, what we talked about last week, the TEC, PEC, the Plan Educativo, I think it's Comunitario, that is replacing the PEI,
Correct.
Plan Educativo Institucional. And that Plan Educativo Comunitario is part of the process towards Ethno-Educational School. Yep. And that they have to, just like how the video that we just don't see with people there that will explain how they build together, what they want. With every member of the community can have a saying there, what they consider to be taught in the school. It's the same process with that text. So, with the what they call in Spanish the comunidad educativa, of that school, surround it, the actors that interact with it, have the input to help build the content, of what should be taught at the school. Valuing, as we keep saying, our lifestyle, our way of surviving, or type of, all the expression, even the tangible, the cultural heritage, like the same language and other things.
Those are the sabedores that have to be involved in this PEC, Proyecto Educativo Comunitario. All the knowledge keepers, they have to come in this sense, because all the communities, all the different people from the island have to come in to create this curriculum. Because then is when all the boat builders, the handcraft, those that do handcraft, the musicians, all the artists, the fishermen, every single person that can apport something to the curriculum will come in and enriching the curriculum.
Yes. Many years back, we was on that, in the government, even as example, the government of Dr. Raizales was a moment when we had our eyes upon all these things that we're talking about 26 years back, and we had the clarity that those things were necessary. And all these practices that our ancestors had, we have to value them and pass it to our children. I had been one of our failure to underestimate, the values of what we have. And you don't transmit it to your kids, and you don't push in to deliver or pass to them other things, And nothing is wrong to pass to them other things and for another culture, but these as yours. If you was a man that know to climb coconut tree or fox coconut, and that was your, teach them it. That don't mean say you are destinating them to be that. But teach them that. That even carries something else apart from the knowledge of that. It carry the message of a working man. Teach them to dignify themselves by the love and the understanding that the culture work. Okay? That is fundamental. It carry much message. It carry the transmission of the culture. It carry a message of teaching them to work. You take other cultures, for example, Dr. Silver. You take those that are in our territory living in us, like for example, the Syro Lebanese. Man, if their business and their economy is to have a store there selling clothes or selling shoes or selling perfume, they take their kids and involve them, get behind the counter and learn what they know to do. That are not saying that.
And they speak their language. That's very important. They
value their language, value their religion, etc. Everything they give it the value and of it. And that don't mean say they are not preparing their kids to be an engineer, a lawyer, or somebody that go and travel to the moon or whatever. No, but give them the basic first that they pass to you. Equip them. Because I remember a scientist from Colombia. I read very far, I forget his name right now, and he's an Afro. And he was explaining once that the CHISPA that carried him to make an important discovery in science was something that he was playing with some type of animal from his neighborhood in his childhood time. And we know that you are have a doctorate and you know what is the science and the method of science. But the key element is observation. Observe. You observe your surrounding, you analyze, you conclude things. And if you are a good observer, you become a good scientist. And you observe the minimum element of nature. What this fellow that discovered is the law of gravity. And what was his CHISPA? He said an apple that dropped in his head, sitting on a tree. And he started to think why the apple never move up and why it come down. And he started to build, and he like him is a magnetic attraction there in the center of the earth or whatever. And today, how much things in science don't build up at a simple discovery and observation. So don't underestimate your interaction with nature. Nature is an inspiration, and nature is the perfect creation of God. And God will reveal and you will learn many secrets and small little details from the nature, from the creation.
And it's not just nature, not just the underestimation of nature, but as well underestimation of your culture, because we know that we have the overpopulation and the culture erosion. People came into the territory and teaching our kids and our teenagers that what they speak doesn't have any value. They say, we don't speak that, don't speak that, I don't speak that, I don't like that, or they speak that, and just discriminating our children and youth because they speak Creole or they speak in a different way. But people listen to us tonight. You have to teach your children to love and speak their language. That's their mother tongue. Don't feel ashamed to speak Creole, but as well, you must encourage them to learn English. That's something important because we are a lingual island. So we're imposed. The Spanish was imposed. Creole is our first tongue. English is our second tongue because it was the mother tongue from England, our colonizer, and then we impose the Spanish was imposed. So important for you to encourage our children to learn Creole, talk to them in Creole, and encourage them to learn, of course, standard English, which because they will defend themselves out in the world and in university and wherever they go with standard English, which is important. So you must learn to love your culture and express it to your children and show the love to your children. Don't be speaking only Spanish to your children, or if you speak Creole, why talking Creole Spanish to your children? And many of them are Raizales in our school. That's what we're talking about. The schools, they are loaded with Raizales and they don't want to talk Creole or English. And they are Raizales and they don't speak our language. So what can we do, Jairo, to start to encourage parents about the Ethno-Education program?
Yeah, it's this type of program that we are having and this conversation that come up, and if we continue the trend and push and debate, the government have to play a more active role, in getting this over to the parents. We are doing the work from the Raizal authority that we know the importance and the revolutionary element or meaning of Ethno-Education. And we are here trying to get over to the whole racial population, parents, students, professionals. The government needs to have a more active role in this to get this type of education to our parents then. Make them value and notice the meaning of it. Don't believe maybe you will find others contradictory or that are contrary, and when start to criticize it and try to minimize it and think that it's a process that's carrying you back. Because sometimes you find people that are just thinking on the, as we're talking about that education and the schools should be to produce those people to insert in the liberal market, but it should prepare a human being with dignity and with self-esteem, and a cultural identity. That's what we are saying here to the parents here. We continue to say that they are promoting to improve the education, not to replace what they are being receiving already. They will be same way skillful in maths, skillful in technology, skillful in computers, skillful in science, but additionally, they will get something that will grab away from us, is that cultural part.
Our parents were saying, for example, on Facebook comment, were saying, for example, that do you believe that my child learning to dance chatis or talking Creole will be a good medic, a good doctor? And of course, we can say yes. If your child loves his or her roots, we will have them coming back to the island and not stay in the mainland, working in the mainland. They will go back to the island to attend their people because they will love their culture. And when the person is clinge and the person is stick to their culture and their identity, the person will as well go back to his roots and his ancestors, especially in the moral part, because we are as a community or as an island, we are a spiritual community. We are not a violent community. We don't know what is to be involved in robbery and different things that's going on right now in our territory. So when you teach your child or your children the roots of our ancestors yes, to keep our values and our tradition, then they will not go into delinquency. Because where the delinquent is farming? At home. The delinquent is farming at home. The bandit is farming at home without you noticing it. So all these boys and girls out there, bad boys and bad girls out there, they are farming at home without you noticing it, parent. So you are the faulted one in part.
Yes, they are leaving the kids them with all real values. Don't
Correct.
produce machine to produce money. No, we are not saying stop from building competitive professionals. To the contrary, we will try to be more and more competitive. But as the human part of it, as the human part. Don't look on it like a machine. That is the crisis that we have in that
Exactly.
country. It's corrupted, something that they are, the only thing they can see is money. They look on you as if they say they study doctor, and they look on you as a patient, but they're looking where the money is more than value, and they have to have a balance. That's what we're talking about, more human being, more lovely and more concern. We have some more video here. I have an extra one here from Europe. I don't
Sure,
want
go
to
ahead.
share it here.
Go ahead,
And
please.
we apologize. Much of it, good part of it, that we talk in French and other things, but we show also a next moment, just like how we show this one video a while ago from Colombia. These values of the cultural issues in education is worldwide. You know, they take it, this one is somewhere, I think, in Belgium, and where they have international students here from other places of the world, where they give the importance to each one. People that came here from Asia, from other spots to this place in Belgium, and they give the importance when to the culture and the heritage. You know, and you hear the kids talking and sharing their own uh, cultural heritage.
My name is Rembert. I'm 26. I teach science, technology, and global citizenship at Campus Comenius in Koekelberg in Brussels, Belgium. The school opened just 2 years ago. We are a young team striving for innovation in education. Our approach is based on blended and self-guided learning. We do our best to adapt to our students' needs and to today's global challenges. Last year, together with 9 other European teachers, I was selected for a UNESCO European Union project on culture and education. The idea was to help us gain understanding of intangible cultural heritage and how we can bring it into the classroom. The project started with a training workshop involving both teachers and students. At the end of it, we worked in teams to prepare for the next step, creating original projects to implement back in our schools. During the workshop, I realized that we first needed to know more about the cultural backgrounds of our students, so we conducted an online survey. The results showed that the grandparents of our 140 students were born in 37 different countries across the globe. Then we organized an exhibition where students brought objects from home that reflected the culture of their family. The result was impressive. One student brought coffee beans from Indonesia, another a small figurine from his grandfather's community in Congo. We also had delicious orange cake from Portugal, Syrian soap, many beautiful jalabas or Moroccan dresses, and so on. We had no idea how culturally rich and diverse our students were.
Hallo, ik ben Jael en ik heb dit boek meegebracht omdat mijn grootouders en mijn vader van Mons komen. Dat ligt in België. En dat is een heel groot feest dat zich bevindt op de Grote Markt. En er is ook dit, dat is een stok met een scherpunt eraan en dan dood Saint-Georges de draak zo. Oui.
Je m'appelle Clovis. Aujourd'hui, j'ai ramené une kora. Une kora, c'est un instrument qui vient du pays de mon père, le Togo. Et on peut en jouer comme ça.
Je m'appelle Nour. Aujourd'hui, j'ai ramené une djellaba qui vient de Oujda. Ma maman et toute sa famille viennent aussi de Oujda. J'aime beaucoup cette djellaba parce qu'on peut la porter à l'intérieur comme à l'extérieur et c'est aussi une djellaba pour les filles.
Bonjour, je m'appelle Chanève et aujourd'hui j'ai ramené des bananes frites qu'on mange souvent au Nigeria et on les mange souvent pendant des fêtes ou pendant des mariages et c'est souvent avant le grand repas et c'est pour ouvrir l'appétit.
Ik ben Philippe. Dit zijn heel lekkere Tsjechische en Duitse koekjes samen. Omdat mijn mama is uit Tsjechië en uit Duitsland. En ja, dit bakken we voor Kerstmis. Deze zijn een beetje hard, maar de andere zijn lekkerder, denk ik. Ja, deze is lekkerder.
My name is Maori and I'm 12. For the exhibition organized at our school, I chose some samples of my grandfather's hanga printing. Hanga is an ancient Japanese printing technique that uses creative drawings, wood blocks and different types of ink. I really like it. Every month my grandfather sends us hanga calendars. He makes around 50 of those each month for his family and friends. I have two favorites, one representing a rowing competition and another one of me wearing swimming goggles while cooking. I feel very close to my grandfather even though he lives in Japan, some 6,000 miles away from here. His calendars make me think of him, his hands, his gestures, his presence. These calendars have become his own way to keep us all bound together as a family, as we now all live in different cities across the globe. It keeps us connected to Japanese culture, which is very important to him and to us.
Yeah, this is not exactly an ethno-educational school, but it's applying might be intercultural, right?
Correct.
More intercultural because you're talking about a place here in Belgium with students that tell us from what 17 different things, something like that. A lot of countries, they come from. But the school is still not educational, but it's given the importance of the cultural part of the student here, to value the culture, the heritage. So if it was a school in an ethnic territory, well, for more reason, they would stretch more and they would go more further to those cultural values and interact with the territory, to make clarity here.
In small population or small places, higher, in small places, cultural heritage must be imposed in public education. For example, in the Cayman Islands, the public schools that are in the island and in the territory is a very small island, as you all know. And the Cayman Islands have public and private school like all the different countries in the world, right? But then the public schools, they have the imposition of the cultural heritage for every single person. They are called the Caymanian schools. The public schools are the Caymanian schools. So if you are putting in your children in the Caymanian schools and you are not Caymanian, but you are married to a Caymanian per se, and then your children are growing up here or whatever, or if you were a government worker, you have the right as well to put your children in the government schools. If you are on a work permit, your children should go to private schools. But the government schools are exclusively for Caymanians or for residents of the territory. In other words, and the cultural heritage is imposed to preserve the culture. So in a place like our archipelago, where we are just implementing the ethno-education, if it's starting in Providence as a pilot, when it comes to San Andres and so on and going on, definitely if we even have our children and our teenagers that are minority, as the Raizales are minority in the schools, that we have more Spaniards or outsiders or however we want to call them, or even residents and living in our territory, the Raizal culture has to be imposed in the schools. So we have to impose the Raizal culture in the schools to preserve the culture. And then every single person, whether they are Raizals or not, they have to learn Creole, they have to learn Chatis, they have to learn to knit, they have to learn the handcraft, they have to learn to fishing and things like that in the heritage of the Raizal part. Because of course, many people have the confusion as well, but then you are just going to teach all day my children to knit, and all day they're going to sew, all day they're going to dance Chatis. No, that's part of the ethno-education. They will have the core subjects, like the normal subjects like natural science, social studies, whatever, math and all of these different subjects, science and whatever. And of course, they have to have the sabedores or knowledge keepers who go in and teach them as well. And something that we can mention, Jairo, as well, which is like an announcement. In our radio, we'll have a section for elders. And I love that, because like the voice of our elders should be speaking, so we can keep the voice of our elders. We need to interview our elders and make them speak about the old time days and things that they used to do, and still the plans for the future. Not because my mom is 87, she can't plan for the future, right? Or because my dad is 91 going 92, he can't plan for the future. They still have voice. And they can talk about the old time days and things what happened before, and how they see the world now, how they see technology, AI, for example, right? And when you see them going into Facebook and Instagram and TikTok and all these things and still using technology, and no matter their age, you say, if they are their age and they can do this, why our children and young people can't learn our Creole? Right? Why our children and young people, instead of jumping on TikTok all the time, get the moment to learn as well, to knit, the girls, to knit, to sew, to fishing, to and the things from our island, to build a boat and things that the traditions and culture that we need to get back. And that is part of the ethno-education. We need to show how to preserve our culture as well, and that is part of it. You're in silence, Hiram.
Some days ago, I was talking with one of my cousins, very agable, and he was telling me about those moments when he was school. He was talking about it in someone's program so far back with Pastor Gardo and Pastor Alberto yourself, and how they used to, carry through the education. And so, very soon, as you say, we'll have a space here to listen to them, for them to talk, very genuine way, very relaxed. More than one of them was bringing back memories about things like even how they used to get education, about the teachers and so forth.
And telling jokes, jokes, old-time
Yes.
jokes, old-time phrase, and sing and recite a poem,
Yes, and we will learn a lot from them. That's a connection that we need between the elders and the other generation. I was working on some years back when I started to do that work to build the genealogy of the Raizal people. I started to systematize it, to interviewing people over the whole island. I used to, in the evening, just go out and visit one of those elders and pass a good time with them. Hours. Like hear something along with me, and we sit down and we eat, and they enjoy it to have that visit, and I enjoy it. But when I smile, I love to be with people, adults and elders. And something that the secret, over and over, while I was visiting those elders, when hours come and the children came back from work, they find me right in by the house, I used to go to many hours with them. And in more than one, so many occasions, this thing happened to me. They come, they heal, they listen to me, interviewing the elders, talking, very friendly, and I getting up my information. And they come and they say, "But Papa or Mama or grandfather, how it is you giving all those things to this man, and you never say to him on time, and he's so interested." More than one reclaim I hear, they come, they say that to me, and the elder will reply and say, "Ono don't want to sit with me. Ono don't interested to sit with me." And this fellow got a whole week coming and visiting me, and and sharing, and I enjoying to share with him, and him enjoying. And he said, "Oh no, enjoy it." So that happens. So our program coming up soon.
And the Nancy story, the Nancy stories, and the old time stories, the ghost stories, and all those stories from old time days is important. For example, because as well we can have a mixture of both Providence people and San Andres people, because we have some stories from Providence that many people from San Andres don't know, and some stories from San Andres that many people from Providence don't know, because our islands are three, but they are separate as well. And even Catalina is so small right there; they have their own little stories as well. So we can have pre-recorded stories. You don't have to have it on live, coming on live on the show, but we can have them pre-recorded and then just put it on the program.
I passed a childhood rich with those stories. I raised up around a fellow, and I used to bother him and say, "Give me that story again. Give me that one. Better see over that tiger." I will get it many, over what we can enjoy, And not only the occupied part of it, but the deep message that each one of them carry.
Correct.
And I find out myself using a couple of them in my life as adults. Those wisdom.
I will mention, for example, one word, like, for example, all Providence people will know and will refer to it. Circla. When you hear about Circla, Circla in Providence, we keep up the Circla still. And that is a thing that, of course, San Andres is bigger, right? And you don't have Circla in San Andres. But the Circla, we still have the Circla in Providence. And if you tell a young person today in San Andres, "Do you know what is Circla?" I said, "Circla? Well, what that? What is that?" Right? They don't know the word Circla. What is a Circla, Hiram?
Yeah, those the person that carry on the news, and referring to the person that announced on the heart. That one is, yeah.
When someone dies, and then they go around. They used to go on horse. They used to go around on horse, giving the information about the person who died. I know they're doing it in the pickup. They're going in the pickup now because it's more comfortable to go around in the circle. But when you see the circle is passing by, everybody stop what they're doing. They turn on the TV. Everybody stop talking because it's something sacred. It's something that you respect, because you want to hear who died, what the person is going to be buried, and things like that. That is a circle, and we have that tradition still in Providence, for example, right?
Great. What they are said to two elders, and they was given they bring to their memory those moments when they used to have their dance, their community dance. How it was compared today, how it was so enjoyable, peaceful, good memories. They say, for example, they would take a walk from, like, to say, south part of the island to the next extreme, peaceful, without no problem, walk.
Yes.
To that party, come back.
And in the dance, my grandmother used to say, "No scrubbing, no scrubbing." Lorena Taylor, she used to say, "No scrubbing, no scrubbing."
Yeah, all those things is necessary. They share all those music. Some of those music, some of the young ones never are still playing that much, but they give us the story where they get from, they brought it from, It's a rich history to tell, and this media that we have with connect people, connect generations, and preserve our cultural identity. Very excited, waiting to see that moment to have that first transmission of that program with our elders. And one will be also with the youth.
Yes.
Don't want them talking between themselves, in there, freely.
And in Spanish or English or Creole or
yes,
whatever.
really.
Yes.
Really, we have to, the adults and elders have to listen carefully to them, because they are receiving messages not only by words, but by what they are seeing. And they are building their feelings and what they imagine is the beauty of the island. So when you see many kids don't have no interest to stay in territory, because they are bombarded with many messages that or lift them up, the attractiveness to the territory, or repel, and it become unattractive. That is happening. We see the violence and the moving around and the news, we see the killing people daily. And those messages are getting to our kids. If we don't sit down and talk to them, building a type of, emotional connection with the territory. For our generation, I remember when we go to study to college in Colombia continent or other regions where we was eager when time vacation coming to go back home, and we was eager to done study to go back home and to live and to work home. I did take an interview that I made some years back for a group of children, and I surprised that none of them wanted to remain on the territory. 100% of them had expectation to leave.
But of course, Hyro, one of the causes overpopulation and lack of opportunities for many of them, because they say, why should I go back if I go back and can't get a job?
Yes, totally. So we want to hear them talk too. We want to hear the group talking about themselves, about many topics, what they do freely, they like, and what they, their conversation. And we will be very attentive.
Correct. So unfortunately, we have come to the end of this program. It was very nice to discuss about this important topic of ethno-education. I want to encourage you to join us again next Wednesday at 8:30, Roots and Horizons, Raizales Education, in another chapter. We will check to see what is going to be the topic, if it's going to be about ethno-education or what we'll be talking about, Hyro. So we will inform that with time, right? All right. So, yeah, so good night to everyone.
Raizales people, it's time for the uprising. Let us rise and shine. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when you feel like giving up, as you try to bother him,
when you feel like smiling, but your heart feels so trill, yeah. Don't give up, rest if you will, but keep your unbroken will, yeah. Rise and shine,
like the sun, the moon, and the stars in the sky.
rise and shine,
Again and again, lift your head high.
rise and shine,
So please, don't you cry.
rise and shine,
Tell us, Jah, He will satisfy.
once again, me say rise, I shall rise. We no have time to cry, everything will be fine. What we stand strong, it's time to move on. We are gonna reach to the stars, to the moon, to the sun.
This is something me want to know fi understand. Rise and people give thanks to the Almighty One. Cause all of the grown are singing song. Rise and shine, so shall sing in a this a song.
Rise and shine light. Where there is light, there will be hope. Rise and shine light. Oh, no joy, that is for sure. Rise and shine light. Standing up strong, I reach for your goal. Rise and shine light. Let us all unite with one heart and soul.
One day our hearts will no more be hurt. All the pain and suffering rise up, it will surely work.
The day we come together and stand up with determination, then Raizales nation will shout out for liberation. To take back the territory. Cause this land that we fight to free our dignity. Free the chains and bandage of colony. Far away from home but still worry about their own. Maybe strength could not be colonized, therefore it had to run.
Waiting for its diaspora through the island in the sun. Rise and shine out your rise and all ye daughters and sons, yeah.
And again, it will be night. Do not yourself minimize. Sense of belonging must be sky high. Stand up strong, rise up, where the sun of the sky.
Leave the high nights of the row and fears. Just remember joy come when the morning clear. Praise Jah and put your hand up in the air. In Jah hand now everything gone clear.
Wake up and live, rise and we soon clear the hill. If we stick together still, no way they could